Hey guys, welcome back to another video, take two. Hopefully this one will definitely work because it's nice and simple. We are here with the Noisy Report collab specialist. We got, of course, Mr. Joey, Mr. Mulv, Mr. Amos. Amos, of course, repping City Report. These two are the Noisy Neighbours podcast, as you guys will probably know. And I'm sorry about the technical problems if you joined us previously. I don't know what happened. It's probably one of those things where if I start the computer again, it'll work fine, but we don't have time to fix it because I didn't want to waste these guys' precious times. And I know these two actually are doing their own stream at 7 o'clock. Is that right?
No, we'll probably just do this one. This will do it for us. He's got to clean his garage, so.
Oh, okay. So yeah, well, there we go. So hopefully, got to make this one a special one, of course. If you are watching live, of course, do get your comments in and all that kind of stuff. Let us know where you should start in the garage, what you should be doing. You know,
yeah, any pointers are welcome.
Yeah, I need to clean my garage actually too. It's actually genuinely just full. Like it's full as the point is where I can't even open the door really now. I sort of have to force it. It's all empty boxes and
I'll come do it if you pay the airfare.
Okay, sure. That should only cost about £700. You know, that's sounds like a good deal. I mean, I just goes to the tip. You know, which is obviously one of life's great pleasures. But the thing is, it's all look, very nice when you get a kid when you have a kid and people like want to help. But they give you everything. They're like, oh, do you want these? Do you want these two tops? They're like, yeah, sure. They need to open a car and empty their boot into your garage. Like, you see, you can bring your 2 t-shirts around. That's a car. That's a kid. It's like, what are you doing?
George Foreman grill.
Yeah. They just
an actual
enter the
grill.
house on you. So basically, our garage is someone else's garage now, which is always anyway. We're here for a reason. We're here because Man City play Arsenal tomorrow, and it's a big old dilemma. What's the lineup going to look like? And I asked these chaps here to basically pick what they would do. Now, the previous video, I was going to try and bring everyone's teams up, and I can't do that now for technical reasons. But we can just try and sort of remember it. You know, you can use your internal visual acuity, or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying, but you can try and work it out, and we'll try and sort of agree on the team, or maybe not. We'll just debate it anyway. So, Amos, we'll start with you, mate.
Yeah, man.
Tomorrow, firstly, how are you feeling about the game? And after that, we'll get onto your team. Oh, there's pet ringing. Pet snappy.
What the?
A great start, anyway.
How much amateur hour going on today?
Yeah, it's probably reflective of my opinions going into tomorrow's game because I've been more excited about fixtures, I have to say, going into big matches. This is one that I've been thinking about ever since the Rodri red card, basically. Yeah. I think it's been in the back of everyone's mind. But City have won there before. City know how to win there before. Why should we not be confident? Because treble winners, Premier League champions, etc., etc. This is what happens in seasons. You have big matches, you go to big stadiums, and you get big results. I think it'll be a tight game. Am I looking forward to it? Absolutely not. But I don't look forward to Luton at home and Nottingham Forest at home and every other game that City end up winning 5-0. So probably tells you a lot. But it's going to be an interesting game, I have to say.
Okay, so. Obviously, as I was about to take a drink, then you stopped when I was. You sort of throw me. Someone said in the chat immediately start John Stones. I need to clear up that he's not available. So Pep's already said he's not going to be playing. Probably play for England, but he's not available. So bearing that in mind and bearing the squad that we've got right now, Bernardo Silva, of course, is back. Kovacic, Nunes, and so on. Obviously, we know De Bruyne and Rodri are out. They're the absentees. How would you think Pep's going to approach this tomorrow? But that aside, how would you like to approach it? Like, what would you like to see in this Manchester City side in terms of personnel?
I went away from the Leipzig game on, what day was it, Wednesday, feeling much more confident, I have to say, going into this match because I saw a City team that looked familiar once again. The game last week against Wolves, I'm putting it down as a one-off. I'm putting it down as one of those games every season that happens. Nothing went right for City. Referee, injuries, performance, Erling Haaland basically not being on the pitch. You know, everything went wrong that could have gone wrong. Wolves got a result. Fair play. But after that Leipzig game, it looked like a City team I recognise, and that control element, and granted it took until the 70th minute Alvarez and Doku came on and they sort of unleashed the shackles a little bit for the goals to come and the winning goal to come, but at the same time it felt like a #City performance, and that I think is how we're going to see City set up at the Emirates against Arsenal tomorrow.
What do you want to see personally then? Obviously, because I think you're right. I think Pep will probably go that way. But like the midfield dilemma, for example, that's the biggest talking point among City fans. Who do you want to see in that midfield three personally? So, or is it going to be a free? Could be for more. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously, I think John Stones ideally would have been in there, although I was concerned about the prospect of throwing him straight in for his first Premier League game of the season, because he obviously played against Arsenal in the Community Shield, but I'm pretty sure in saying he's not been featuring since. So my midfield three, and that's sort of kind of reductive because it's never a midfield three.
Yeah.
You have defenders stepping up and tucking in, etc., and strikers, wingers, whatever. But the three players in there, I would like to see Kovacic, Bernardo, and Julian Alvarez in the most conventional, orthodox fashion of the word, because we know it doesn't turn out like that. But those are the three people I would personally choose to have in those positions.
So we look like Manchester City the other day, and you want a totally different midfield to the one that started that game.
Pretty much.
You're wrong, by the way, but
pretty
it
much.
is in every sense.
Yeah.
A totally different midfield because Alvarez, of course, was on the bench the other day.
Yeah.
Rodri was available. Rico Lewis played in midfield. Are you not tempted by any stretch for Rico?
I am, and listen, if he's on the starting 11 team sheet, what is it? This time tomorrow, kind of. I'm not losing sleep. I'm not getting up in arms. I just think for Rico Lewis, it is a step up. And if there's ever a player who's capable of making the step up at his age, it's Rico Lewis. So it was a toss of a coin, really. I would just take Kovacic because I think he's been there, he's done that, multiple Champions League winner, he has the experience. Bernardo Silva is our big game player. I think more than any other player in that team, to have him fit, hopefully, for this one is a must. And Julian Alvarez is, for my money, the best player in the world right now. So, you know, we speak about City's squad being stretched, and granted it is. Rodri's omission is devastating, but there's still there's still a lot of quality in there. So, like I said, if Rico Lewis is in there instead of Bernardo Silva, for example, or if Bernardo plays on the wing and Grealish drops out, whatever it is, I'm going to be happy. But I just think that gives you the most experience for what, for me, is probably going to be, at this early stage of the season, for the first sort of few months, quite a defining fixture for City season.
Yeah, I agree with all that, broadly speaking. It's one of those things where, though, I keep wondering if what, you know, a lot of City fans, myself included, and yourself, think about Bernardo, like, oh, what in midfield? There's been literally no signs whatsoever. Has he started in midfield at all this season? Can anyone correct me on that? I feel like he's been
No, he's been on the right
wing, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I do feel like Pep... do we think Pep even sees him as a central midfielder at the moment? Yeah, because he's played towards the end of this. May be a question for you, more like towards the end of last season. Bernardo was pretty much predominantly a right winger, wasn't he? You know, he played in the final, the run into the Champions League. There's the reason Mahrez is probably gone, if we're being honest, as well, because Bernardo was a right winger. Bernardo started as a right winger. You know, do you think there's any part of Pep that still sees him as a potential central midfielder? Because I would have thought the first thing he would have done, if that was the case, would have played him there, you know, like, but he didn't do that, you know, he didn't do that midweek, and he could have done that.
No, I agree. I think Pep mostly sees him as a right winger, as he was in the run-in at the end of last season. But I think we've got a one-off situation here where, without Rodri, against a team like Arsenal who presses really well, you need two really press-resistant central midfielders to help us get the ball out of the back. So one's Kovacic and the other is Bernardo. They're the best two at that job when Rodri's not there. Would I be bothered if Rico was one of the two? Probably not, but I think that's an awfully tough position to put a young lad in. You know,
agreed.
Putting him next to Rodri is one thing, right? Like against Leipzig, but this one is a big game, and I think you just go with the experience.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, I do wonder, because I mean, I can't remember the exact games, but my memory is telling me that Rico played a really tough run of games at right back when he first broke through. Remember, and he was like, he's playing here at that ground. He's playing at that ground as well, and Pep was trusting him a lot. And he's older now, obviously more experienced. Pep was, you know, running out of superlatives for him the other day. He was absolutely, you know, he was just buzzing to talk about him, and he's dropping the big wows and everything. And I do think, look, you know, he's trusted him before, and Pep, he's a very brave manager. And I do wonder if there's an argument to say that maybe actually after the performance the other day, he might have just earned it, you know, and like, and I think it's fair, don't you, Joey, to say that Pep really does respect Leipzig. You know, like I think he was very happy with the performance the other day, and I think he was happy because, as Amos said, he saw his Man City side. You know, I think there was elements where like, I recognise them. Do you think there's any chance, Joey, that Rico gets a chance to start?
Yeah, I think there's it's probably 50-50 between him and Bernardo.
Yeah.
As I'm kind of like what you guys said, Kovacic and Bernardo seems to make the most sense. But if Rico's in there, I don't have any issues. I don't have any concerns or problems. I don't worry about if it's a big match or not if he's in there, because I think right. he relishes it. He's got the brain to understand what's going on out there, and be able to deal with whatever Pep throws at him. So if Rico's in there, I have no concerns about it.
Yeah, he's got.
And what a way to like kind of put your stamp down too. If he does go with Rico, to come off the back of the Leipzig performance, you're in there against Arsenal, against a midfield they've spent a lot of money on, and it would be nice.
All like homegrown products, apparently. You know, they don't spend. Well,
yeah, I mean, yeah. Declan is from London, so we can count it, I suppose.
Maybe Thomas Partey went there as a kid on holiday. You know,
True, yeah. Odegaard's been there before.
Martin Odegaard's from Clapham.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I saw. Yeah, I don't know, Trossard in Soho once. So
right. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I think if Rico's in there against all those guys, you know, I don't think he would struggle. I think he'd be okay. I think maybe Bernardo makes more sense just because the runs from deep, the pressing he can provide if Pep wants to switch up the shape, and maybe just experience.
Yeah,
Bernardo's been there and done it at every single stage, and I think that's probably the way we would go. But again, I wouldn't have any concerns if it was Rico.
We are like 10 minutes into this video, and there's not been a single mention for Calvin Phillips. Is it dead now? Is it dead? Like, is it over? Like, I know it sounds so disrespectful, but it feels so cruel that that there's no. And even obviously, we've not even mentioned Nunes yet, and I think that I presumed he would be further ahead in the pecking order. You know, and then we've got an 18-year-old that we're all talking about that. Like, it feels over. To me, those comments the other day, Amos, were they felt like a line in the sand from Pep. You know, a couple of weeks back when he was just really honest about him struggling to do certain things and whatever and so on. I mean, he's not got a chance of being involved in this, has he? As it currently stands.
No, he's not got a chance of being involved in it. As soon as Roger got sent off, I think it was abundantly clear that he wouldn't, bar a major injury crisis, be involved. I'm a bit torn on this because we've seen little glimpses, and part of the glimpses it's been tough. It's not been very good. In other parts, it's been decent. It's been promising. I guess it's what you want Calvin Phillips to be at this stage is the question. Do you want him to be the man who, when Rodri isn't playing, to come in and step up? Well, obviously, ideally, that's probably what he was signed for. But given the season he had last year was so damaging, obviously out for a big part of it injury-wise, and then came back and City couldn't drop points because they're in a treble run. I think that's obviously changed now, and he's missed out on that sort of, I don't know if you can call it an adolescent period where, you know, he's coming to grips with a City team. You know, he's missed a big part of his development, and that's probably for no fault of his own. That's just how it happened. It was unfortunate. City moved on, and obviously Calvin Phillips was left behind. I would still say deep down there's part of me who thinks he can be of some use in that sort of tertiary category behind the second choice. And that's obviously not what you want your £50 million midfielder to be. But I think City have to be adaptive at this point. And in context of this game, absolutely not. I don't think he can. What he could possibly be, though, is a player who comes on in the last 15 minutes to see the game out. I think that maybe goes under the radar a little bit. I think he's better than people give him credit for doing that. But obviously, it'd take an exceptional circumstance for 4:30 tomorrow his name to be on the starting 11.
Any chance of Nunes tomorrow, Mulv? Because I mean, no one's mentioned him yet. Everyone's Rico. It feels to me like the consensus is that Rico, Kovacic, and Bernardo seem to be the 1, 2, 3 in terms of like the ones that are more likely to start. But obviously, Nunes signed with big expectations. He's had some good cameos so far. You know, a little bit of liveliness. You could argue that he's press resistant. You know, that he could turn and he could. And maybe the Wolves game was a bit much because it was Wolves and maybe he wasn't quite ready for it yet. You know, in terms of the crowd are on his back immediately. Like, what do you think? There's any chance that tomorrow that should he be involved tomorrow? Should it be Kovacic and Nunes? You know, because Rico's a kid, Bernardo's right winger now.
No, it's partly the domino effect, Steve. In that, like if Bernardo doesn't play in the middle, then where does he play? And if he does play somewhere else, who then misses out, right? So if Bernardo's not in the middle, he's on one of the wings. So Foden doesn't play, or Grealish doesn't play, Doku doesn't play. I don't know. For me, my lineup is all about experience for a big game. And Nunes, while he's brilliant, he's just too soon.
What would your lineup be out of curiosity? Because there's quite a few question marks all over the pitch at the moment. Because there's the whole like Nathan Ake stinker against the Wolves, but Ake is pretty much probably the most effective player he's probably ever played against Saka. You know, he's been brilliant every single time he's played against him. You know, and you can't ignore that. But then Vardy had a masterclass against Leipzig the other day, and that immediately puts him lightly in. And for whatever reason, that sounds really negative, actually. Well, Pep loves Akanji, is what I was going to say. And I would say Akanji is probably the weakest of our centre-backs, but Pep really likes him. He trusts him.
Yeah, agreed.
So Akanji is always likely to play because, I think there's a balance there as well. And he plays right centre-back, because he's right forward or whatever. He can cover that right channel if Kyle Walker goes forward. But then the other question marks around the pitch, as you said, the biggest argument for me about Bernardo playing is that he frees up Foden to play and Alvarez to play. And if Bernardo doesn't play in midfield, he plays right wing then. Does that mean Foden gets dropped? He's going to drop Foden in a game like this, Yeah. What would your lineup look like, Morph?
Yeah, so I've gone obviously with Edison in goal. I'll be honest, the defense is the least of my worries. I mean, it could be any of them, and I'd be quite pleased. But you asked me to write it down, so I've gone with Walker at right back. I think Walker is going to be the width on the right. And the other three I'm going to mention will fill out like a back three. So Diaz, Vardiol, and Ake. And Vardiol and Ake could be left back or left centre back. I don't mind which one. Like you said, Ake's done a great job on Sussy Baka.
Reload.
We're doing this.
Reload.
We're doing this. Is this what
Reload.
we're doing? Is this
Take
what
it
we're
back.
doing?
Take it back.
Bukayo
Oh,
Saka.
Lord Almighty.
Bukayo Saka. So that's my back four. Again, Walker, Diaz, Vardiol, and Ake. Midfield, I've agreed with Amos, Kovacic, and Bernardo, sort of double pivot with Alvarez sitting as like a 10. I've got Foden on the right wing, who will drift inside a bit and let Walker go hold the width. And I've got Grealish on the left for the experience, just to start the game. And if he's not doing it, Doku will come on later, and then Erling Haaland up front.
Chat's like, what just happened? What's Sussy? I have no idea what that reference meant either. I feel like I missed something there, but
Mulv steals things he hears his son say, and then he just throws them in, and it's up to everybody else to look it up and figure it out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Down with the Zoomers.
Down with the Zoomers. Are we? Yeah. What gen are we? Like, we're all different.
You're a
Whoa.
Yeah,
Amos is a Zoomer.
Amos is like, what's the child one? I don't know. You're what? 12?
I think-
I don't know. 24?
I think me and Steve are
25?
millennials.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
Gen
I'm
X.
38, so
Yeah, I'm
I don't know.
23. 23.
Okay.
Millennium,
That's
baby.
23. Okay,
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
These Zoomers, man, I love them. Absolutely. I've got two.
No,
I've
we
got
love
two,
you,
and they're
man.
both brilliant.
What Zoomer? What age is Zoomer? Like from?
It's the children of Gen X, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
More or less.
I need to
Yeah.
know what my son would be right now. He's only like 11 months, but I don't know what category he's going to be.
I don't think we know yet.
After Z,
No.
you just go back to A.
Yeah.
The
Generation
world
Alpha,
shattering.
dude.
Yeah. Generation
The world
Alpha.
shattered.
No son of mine is Generation Alpha. No chance, mate.
Come on. Alpha's
You
the
named
king,
him
right?
Ruben.
Should
He's
be.
got to be.
I've got like Zelda photos on the wall. You know what I mean? Like I've got like I
True.
have no chance.
Starting
Anyway,
off behind the 8-ball.
Exactly. Yeah.
18.
Imar Ruff with the super chat said Bernardo will play right wing, always does in big games. That's a good point, actually. He always does in big games, which is it's a very simple way of looking at it, actually. So maybe he could be. But at the same time, then Rodri's not available, mate. You know, and you know what hit me the other day, actually? Our midfield last season was Gundogan, Rodri, and De Bruyne. None of them available. I know it sounds really obvious, but it's entirely different. Like the heart of a Guardiola song. That's an interesting metaphor.
I bet it'd be a good one, though.
Yeah, it would be a very good one. Is what a chorus it'd be. It's just not going to be there. It's not going to be there, and that's it. It does worry me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It really does. What about yourself,
Can't lie.
Joe? Sorry.
Nothing.
This top boy things. It's all just dumb
I've not seen
from our
Top
show.
Boy. Wait, how did you just beep yourself?
Yeah, you can't f***ing beep yourself, dude. What is this? Some f***ing kind of f***ing clown show?
You did literally just say fucking. By
This
the way, you missed it.
Oh,
I wish I could do that. I don't know how to do that. How do you do that?
Ask
Oh.
Rory. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
I
that's-
learned it from him.
Honestly, YouTube has got so funny with demonetization recently. Like you just drop one swear word and it demonetizes everything. It's ridiculous.
That's why you don't make money on it.
Yeah. Idiots. What would your team be, Joey? Go on.
Well, I've just changed it, and it turns out it's almost the same as Mulv's because I was thinking about it more. This is the issue. I start thinking about things, and I go back on it 5 times.
Stop there. That's the issue. Stop thinking about.
Yeah, that's my deal. Is I need to stop thinking. I feel like
a therapy session.
True. That's every third Noisy Pod show is just therapy. Ederson, Walker, and then I've gone Diaz and Gvardiol, and then Ake. I've got Ake at left back and Gvardiol as a left center back.
Same.
Mainly because of pace.
Okay.
And then I went Bernie and Kova, and then across the front, Phil Alvarez. I went Doku because I think Doku against Ben White's funny, and then Holland up front.
Just funny, not effective. Just be funny. You know what I mean?
I think it would be hilarious. Yeah.
For the vibes.
I think at some point Ben White would slide, miss Doku. We'd all get to see his tramp stamp, which is a good bit, and then yeah. I don't even care if the cross comes after that. I just want to see him slide, ruin his shorts, and then
that's the moral victory.
Yeah. Well, it's all about XV, you know. I don't care about XG. It's big XV for Noisy Pod lineups.
Expected tramp stamp viewers.
Well, yeah.
XTS.
XTS is at 3.
Yeah, I want to see that too. I'm done. I'm happy. I'm happy to end the video there. Really, that's all I want to see. I actually do want to see. Look, I'd never heard of the word gritty until about a month ago, and now I'm just stopping people in the street, just doing it. Just telling me no. I must admit that celebration against Leipzig, I felt young watching it again. I did seeing him dance there. When someone dropped some music, I was like, that's just sick. It really is. It's class. I don't know if kids say sick anymore, but I say it anyway. But it was
gritty is sick.
Okay. It was just really good. There's genuinely a real vibe to it, and it just felt kind of. I'm gonna stop saying words before I'm older than I am.
He looks so happy doing it as well. That's the best thing. He just looks joyous and like a little
natural,
puppy. It's so nice to see someone
actually
just enjoy football again.
Yeah, there's like an innocence to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is, and there really is when he dances. He just looks kind of happy, and it's not like he doesn't come across as arrogant because a lot of some celebrations that are planned can sometimes be a little bit grandiose. Look at me,
yeah,
a lot of them are,
yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that to an extent. But he comes across as I'm just dancing, I'm enjoying myself, and I nearly got into it. Then I won't do it. I'll save everyone that. Amos, what's your 11, mate?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit different in different areas. So if I can find it again, I've surprisingly gone for Ederson in goal. I think that's a controversial pick, but Kyle Walker, Diaz. Not that I would necessarily choose him myself, but Akanji I think is as good as a lock. Every big game basically City have had since he arrived, he's played. I think I was just looking, and he's had over 3,000 minutes last season, which is basically on a par with Ruben Diaz. Obviously, yeah, it's wild, and I agree. I think he of the. What is it? 4 centre backs now. Yeah, I think he's there's a gap between him and the others in terms of quality, but in terms of consistency, maybe he is up there with the best. So I'd have him. I'd go with Gvardiol as well on the left hand side. I think he played himself into the fixture with the performance against Leipzig. I think he's getting towards that part now where he's probably at least on a par with Ake, if not just edging above him. Midfield have been through Kovacic, Bernardo, Alvarez. Just to round that off, actually, I think, yes, Bernardo Silva is a right winger, but he's also whatever you want him to be, essentially. As long as he's there. What are positions, basically? They're just the concepts at this point, aren't they? He'll go wherever you want him to go. And then front three, Foden, Haaland, Grealish, which, for my money, I think is City's best front three. Not necessarily most effective in terms of statistics over the last however many months, years, whatever. But I just think they complement each other in these sort of matches anyway. Yeah, Forest at home, Doku's great. He's going to tear teams apart. But when you do need that added control in a tough place to go, we know what the Emirates can offer in terms of atmosphere. Like it or not, it has turned into a bit of a cauldron. I think that does... It allows you to build a platform later on in the game, and we saw the blueprint against Leipzig. I don't get the Grealish versus Doku hate. I mean, both are great.
So different. They're so obviously different. It doesn't matter. They're really different. The point is where you can totally see the idea why you'd want different ones in my opinion for different games. That's what I feel about it, anyway.
And
Yep.
and that's why Doku was brought in, because he is the antithesis of Jack Grealish. Had City brought in, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a Matoma, for example. They are very similar wingers, Grealish and Matoma, obviously differing in parts, but the concept is quite the same. Whereas Doku is an entirely different profile. For me, in this game, I'd do the tried and trusted, the guys who got you the wins last year. Obviously, Grealish scored on this ground as well. And then if things are going to plan, if they're not going to plan, you unleash Jeremy Doku with half an hour to go and
Unleash
let
the
him
Doku.
run riot against Ben White's tramp stamp. Which
There you
is a
go.
sentence
See, that's
I
what I'm
never
saying.
thought I'd be saying.
He ran riot against Ben White's tramp stamp. I need to update the video.
Sounds like a Roald Dahl novel.
That's something like what's that porn? Boons and whatever, Boons and Mills or something. I don't know. What it is.
No idea.
That's some middle-aged housewife thing. Where's the comment gone? Yeah, Kevin said it quite succinctly actually. Bernardo played left back at Emirates last year, which is a good point.
True.
He will be wherever you want him to be. He's such a versatile, lovely man. He will be anywhere. And I think there is I think often back times when City were playing, we looked like we had a lot of control. It was often Bernardo was often alongside Rodri or alongside Gundogan and receiving the ball. And you would say Kovacic does a more than passing impression of Gundogan at number 6. So I do think there's something in that, and I think I'd be very interested to see what Pep does. I would not be surprised, having said that, if he does surprise. Not surprised if it's a surprise, because Rico was the other day. None of us expected that, and I do wonder if he's planning something, just simply because Rodri's sort of forced it on him. There is such a massive gap there. I'm hoping, personally, if I was, going back to my 11, I'm hoping he does go for experience too. I think there's something to be said for just having the players who know what to do here in the team. It's even I know it sounds a bit harsh on Vardiel, but I'd even be fine with him being on the bench for this, just because, if you look at that team, you could pick Ake, Diaz, Akanji, Walker. They are treble-winning players, and they've been there and done it, and they played this system so many times. I'd be fine with that. And if it meant, Pep got the balance that he wants to, that's absolutely fine. I get it. I think Vardiel will be excellent, but why? I guess my argument would be, if you're going to have one on the left-hand side, Diaz, in my opinion, is always a better left centre-back than he's a better right centre-back. I think he is. I think he's just more comfortable, for whatever reason, on the left-hand side than he is on the right-hand side. And if you're going to have one then out of those two, I was like, well, so it's not a risk to play Vardiel, but it's also almost an unnecessary choice, because we know Ake's great against Saka. So, why not just play the guy that we know and can trust? I'm not saying we don't trust Vardiel, but my argument would be well, we know that works, so do it. And I think it could be a little bit much early on for Vardiel have to learn how to play against the best right winger probably in the league. And I'd just be tempted to go for Ake for that reason alone. And I do think I would 100% go for Nunes and Bernardo too. I think, Kovacic and Bernardo. I think it's just, and I expect them to sit deep as well and just go for it. And then the other thing is, we all say Alvarez is going to start. Absolutely, it's the right thing. It's mad because he's so different to anything we've had previously in his Arsenal games. He's still got less control than even De Bruyne. He is a little bit more chaotic, and maybe that's the argument more for Bernardo behind him. And Alvarez is going to start. We know that. You could go crazy. You could have Alvarez at the top and Haaland could be sitting out, but that's not going to happen.
Would you?
No,
I mean, there's more of an argument now. Not that I ever agree with it, but there's more of an argument now than there ever has been before, isn't there?
You know what's mad? I saw some journalists on Twitter the other day, doing his whole my best 11 so far. Ollie Watkins was up top, and I was like, he's got half the goals Haaland.
Yeah,
I know Haaland's played that well, but Haaland's got 8 goals, and it's crazy that we're all just oh yeah.
He's only on a goal a game so far this season, and he's having a bad year.
Trash.
It's terrible. He's got more goals than games played in the Premier League so far. He's got 8 and 7, and it's just, and I do
get him out.
I know it's shocking. I do actually think he'll get more space. I do think he will get more space, won't he? Because I think there will be. I think they'll just the game will open to his hands. But then, you have to have Foden. I think Foden has to play this game. I actually agree with Jack Grealish. I think Doku will actually probably get drawn into the atmosphere a bit too much. I think it'll be too chaotic, and I think City will play the occasion, not the actual game, if he's there. Yeah, that's how I feel anyway. How are you feeling? What's everyone's predictions ahead of the game tomorrow, Amos?
I started it by saying I wasn't very confident, so I'll end it on a high and say a gutsy 1-2 win in favour of the away team. I wouldn't be surprised to see City go behind, and I wouldn't be surprised to sort of see City in the first half be happy to get into half-time 1 goal down. I can imagine. There's been a few of these half-4 Emirates kickoffs, and they just look like La Bombonera at Boca Juniors. I credit the Arsenal fans because it's due in this case. They do get up for the big games. However, they don't always get the big results, and I'm seeing another iconic celebration. Is it the clock end where City will kick towards in the second half? In front of the away fans. I don't know. Let's say an Erling Haaland goal. Let's do it. He puts the GBs to bed ahead of the international break. Yeah. So 1-2 in City's favour.
Nice. Mulv?
I think I'm going to be the bad guy here. Can Man City win this game?
I'm
Yes.
just removing you from the video right now. Gone. See you later.
Cool. Perfect. All right.
No,
Fellas,
you're back.
let's
Go
go.
on.
Joey's thinking, was it that easy to get rid of him? I've tried for so long.
Hear me out.
Just click a button.
Hear me out. I'm setting this up. Can City win? Yes, it's a football match. City can win this game. Should Man City win this game?
Analysis.
Absolutely not. Think about it. Arsenal, they're at home. City are without their best player, Rodri.
Players, really. We keep forgetting about De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne, who
On phone.
notoriously ruins Arsenal every time he plays them.
Hates him.
John Stones, right? Arsenal have first of all, spent more money over the last 5 seasons than Man City have.
Very true.
They've also signed Declan Rice for £100 million, who is as good as Rodri, right? Same level.
Some say better.
No,
Yeah, we'll
if
take him,
Arsenal
don't we?
do not win this match, serious questions have to be asked about that club and that manager. Seriously, if they don't beat Man City without De Bruyne, Rodri, they're at home. They've spent loads this summer and over the past 5 years, more than our club have. If they don't beat us now, when are they going to beat us?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So
Can they handle that? Because there's so much pressure on them. There's so much pressure on them.
So I can do nothing but predict an Arsenal win.
Joey.
Okay, right now I can say it's probably going to be like 2-1 City or a 2-2 draw, I feel like. Tomorrow I'm going to think it's going to be 5-0 Arsenal because there'll be panic attack time, but yeah, Mulv's got a good point. They should win with all the money they've spent, and we have 2 of the best players the league's ever seen out. But I don't know. We talked on our show a little bit. I think if we do what we did last season, where we draw them into pressing us, then go over the top to Haaland, and Alvarez will be there now.
Go on, Allardyce. Go on.
Yeah. Hoof it up, big man.
We might have been tackles. What was that?
And
It's
it's
like an MC,
everybody.
a drum and bass MC.
Well, it's because of him. I can't lie. Yeah, no, I think either 2-1 City or a draw.
I think I'm going for a draw as well. I'd be happy with a draw as well. For what it's worth. I think,
Yeah, I'd take it.
I think we have to be reassessed and be realistic. Look, we obviously can win, and we know that because teams that are much worse than us or Arsenal beat teams that are much better than them all the time, And the mentality that this City side have got, I would say City's biggest chance of winning tomorrow is Arsenal just fucking up. Like genuinely, I feel like they could. They just genuinely could not, get to them because they know they have to win, and I think that there's expectation from the fans that they need to as well. And the sense I get is that this is their best chance in an awful long time. There is a pressure on them. I think there's more pressure on them than us actually, which is weird. But I think the narrative is Rodri's not there. Rodri's not there. No De Bruyne, and I think actually, the odds probably are in Arsenal's favour, which is never.
They have to be the favourites.
They have to be. They're not. The bookies aren't paying attention, and I think most people expect them actually. Not expect, but I think this is their time potentially, and that could play into City's hands weirdly. And I think it's weird that for one, City are probably the underdogs in the game. And I'm not going to sell this kind of poverty narrative or whatever because we're not really ever underdogs. But this is the closest it's probably been for a long time, probably years actually. Having said that, I think it could be. I'm going to go for. I think I'm going to 1-1 draw. Actually, I think we'll frustrate them. I think that's what we'll be good at doing. I think the defense. I mean, Diaz is the most important player in the pitch tomorrow for me, and Ruben Diaz. If he has a blinder, we'll be fine. And Ruben Diaz sometimes does that in a big game, doesn't he? So if he sometimes in that mode, he blocks everything, he gets everyone around him going. That's what I'm hoping. And hopefully Haaland takes a chance.
Can you imagine the totally normal reaction from Arsenal if they do beat City, though? It will. It will going into an international break. As well.
You think it'd be horrific?
You think it'd be annoying?
Imagine the total normal reaction from our own fans as well. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, it's a day to stay off the socials.
2 weeks of it as well, so you can't even get over it quickly.
I see a lot of nerves in the chat. I'm super calm about this. It's so early in the season. I don't see any team. Right. I don't see any team that we couldn't keep up with or catch. At this point, there's not like remember when Liverpool just wouldn't lose like a few seasons ago? Was that the COVID year? That's a team like this early in the season. If we lost to them, I'd be worried about it. But I don't see anybody like that. And there's some great teams, but we're still really good. And I don't see anybody at this point in the year that we couldn't catch. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm pretty chilled out about this one. No, I don't expect to win. Honestly, without Rodri, nah.
My view of it is that we could win without Rodri, but if it was 5 months from now, the players were more up to speed or whatever. But they're just not. Like Nunez and Kovacic could be Manchester City, great City midfielders. They're just not yet, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the 8th game of the season and most of them they haven't played most of those games as well. They probably played 4 or 5 games each, and that's not enough to become a great Manchester City midfielder. You can be a great player, but a great Manchester City midfielder, nah. So I think you're right there, mate. And let's be honest, as I said, there'll only be 2 points ahead of us. We'll be third, 20 points and 18 points. That's ultimately Pep always says, rightfully so. I just want to be there. I want to be close to them at the end. And I think football fans can't handle that, but managers can because he's done it a billion times, So, guys, thank you very much. You're all superstars. Of course, you can go check out these guys' podcast. The links are in the description and they're in the title as well. Amos, of course, representing the City Report podcast. These guys representing the Noisy Neighbours podcast. Well, they are the Noisy Neighbours podcast. Go check them out. And I hope you all enjoy the game tomorrow. Any last words for you guys?
Nah, man. Just thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. Good to see you.
Ben White's tramp stamp. In a bit. Bye-bye.